When Saturn moves to Capricorn from Sagittarius in December, an occurrence that happens only once every 29 years, Eric Francis Coppolino, a writer for the Daily News, will need to explain to readers what that shift means for their lives and how the larger world might be affected. It's like a carefully timed fortune cookie, he said of the horoscope column he would write, only a little longer. When it's meaningful, when it answers something that you're wondering, it can light up your mind. Astrology has long had its believers and its cynics, but for a craft so often criticized for being non-scientific and, in some cases, fraudulent, horoscopes still cover the pages and websites of publications in New York and across the globe. The New York Times is not one of them. But the Daily News, the New York Post and Vice have dedicated astrology writers or daily horoscopes, as do the Los Angeles Times, the Chicago Tribune and the Philadelphia Inquirer, to name just a few. So why, in an age of information overload and in a news-saturated city like New York, are written horoscopes still so popular? One appeal is that they offer some order in an otherwise chaotic city and volatile world, said Galit Atlas, a clinical assistant professor in New York University's postdoctoral program in psychotherapy and psychoanalysis. What makes us feel safe in the world is order, boundaries, and sequence, and those three things are things that astrology can give us, Ms. Atlas said. Especially in a time when the world doesn't feel safe, we tend to search for an order that makes sense. That's not a negative thing, she added. The more secure we feel in the world, the more we are able to be productive, to live fully, to love and to work. Astrology is believed to have first appeared in ancient Babylon some 4,000 years ago. But as a written art in newspapers and magazines, the practice is comparatively new, about a century old. The first horoscope column in a major newspaper graced the pages of the Sunday Express in London in 1930. There is no formal schooling to be an interpreter of the stars. But there are well-known newspaper horoscope columnists, like the English astrologer Patrick Walker, who have mentored New York writers. M.R. Walker, who died in 1995 and was widely considered the most eloquent wordsmith in the history of horoscope writing, trained Sally Brompton, his successor and the current astrologer for the Post. His work also inspired M.R. Coppolino to shift from shoe-leather reporting to covering the planets in his online magazine Planet Waves and later at the Daily News. I had no interest in astrology, I couldn't see the use of it and it didn't seem practical, M.R. Coppolino said, but when I started reading Patrick Walker in the New York Post, I suddenly found myself with a guy who wrote like Steinbeck. He added, by day I was covering toxic tort litigation, and at night I would hang out in my girlfriend's room in Woodstock and pour through the ephemeris and the New York Post horoscope with a red pencil and tarot deck, and I hacked the Patrick Walker horoscope, like Julian Assange. For 23 years, M.R.